for more analysis on this, we're now joined by political analyst Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, and he'll discuss with us just the rolling developments coming out from the Results Operations Centre in Midrand. Prof, thank you so much for your time this evening. Perhaps let's start off here. We saw that press briefing being held by the MK party, as well as former President Jacob Zuma, and more than 20 political parties who are disputing these elections. Let's start off with your reaction from that.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. The number of political parties that are expressing their disgruntlement by the way in which the process was handled is quite sizable. 26 is not a small number. So which means then that everything has to be done to make sure that each of those concerns is attended to the satisfaction of those complainants. This is to ensure that the results of the election will be accepted by all parties, and then there will be no problems after that. Of course, we are mindful of the time factor, given the fact that the law is clear that 7 days after the elections, then we should be announcing the results. And then, of course, at the same time, the other side of the coin is that announcing the results when you still have unresolved matters would not serve that purpose. So it means that the commission is basically pressed between the rock and the hard place. On the one hand, it wants to subscribe to the constitutional imperatives by making sure that the results are announced on time, but then on the other hand, it wants to satisfy those who are the complainants. So it is not an easy job, given that the commission is not a big organization, it's a small organization, but it has to do the job and do it effectively.
And Prof, I mean, we heard former President Jacob Zuma, who's also the party leader of the MK party, also warning the IEC that tomorrow those results should not be declared because of the number of disputes which have been raised. And we also heard there from the IEC chairperson saying that nothing will stop it from declaring those results. Is this, when it comes to the decision which has been taken by the IEC, a good decision to take, especially now that these political parties are warning for these results not to be declared tomorrow?
My sister, whenever there is a discussion, in fact, interestingly, we're having this discussion here on the eve of coalition governments. So whenever you go to a negotiating table, you go there with an open mind, saying that you are going to listen to the other party and then consider your own position, and you try to reach middle ground. In this case, the IEC is clear that it wants to announce the results tomorrow. Then the 26 political parties are saying there is no rush because we'll still be operating within the confines of the law if you delay a little bit later. So which means, therefore, that they can still find each other. Say, for example, they go for Tuesday or any other date within the 7 days, which will still be within the constitutional imperative. Then at the same time, satisfying the concerns raised by the 26 political parties. I think that none of the two parties should take a firm stance at this point if indeed they all have the interests of the country at heart. So it means then that the complainants will afford the IEC the opportunity to conduct the investigation, but the IEC as well must make sure that it meets them halfway, so that at least it doesn't look like it's power dynamics at play, because if that happens, then it's not going to end well, and we don't want that. So the elections have been relatively okay, except for the glitches that people are pointing out here and there. So we want to see this process coming to conclusion as smoothly as possible. Then we can go on with our lives, and the general electorate can then get the services that they need, because at the end of the day, the people who matter the most are the voters.
Prof, what do you make of the twists and turns of this particular election, especially now, I mean, 30 years of democracy where the ANC has just dipped below 50%, bordering really sitting on 40% here. These disputes we have now seen from various political parties. What does it say about our democracy?
This election was bound to be different from all others. When people were saying that this election is a repeat of 1994, I held a different view. I said this election is totally different. In 1994, we were voting for the very first time, and there was an excitement and euphoria, and there wasn't so much that we are seeing today. And we didn't even have the voters' roll at that time. So this time around, we have a significantly high number of political parties. For the first time, you have independent candidates. The youth that have been complaining about, saying that they don't want to participate in elections, they came in numbers. So this happens then at the time when, of course, the governing party, the ANC, has not been at its strongest. It has been a week, and then this is confirmed by the results. The last time I checked, it was 40.2%, which is something that has never happened. So which means history has already been made. So now if you have such a high number of political parties that are lodging complaints using Section 55, then it means that another part of history is also being made. So these things are bound to happen. So the IEC, of course, has also been tested because for the very first time, we have 3 ballots. So you have to cater for that. And before the election, there were a number of court cases which delayed the process. And then, of course, brought the work of the IEC to a halt while they were waiting for the outcomes of those cases that were ongoing. So a lot has happened in this election, more than any other since the new political dispensation in 1984.
And you're right, a lot has certainly happened in these elections, Prof. And I mean, taking us back to that briefing in which we saw a bit earlier on, I mean, some of the political parties saying that they want a recount of the votes, the likes of the MK party saying that, well, they want a revote. What is the possibility of us seeing this come to life?
We cannot rule out that possibility, but then everything is to be done within the confines of the law. One of the things that needs to happen, for instance, is have you satisfied yourself with the complaints that have been lodged using Section 55? Are these complainants happy that you have done a thorough job as the IEC? If the answer is in affirmative, then these other options fall by the wayside. But then if they still feel aggrieved, and then they are of the view that there are significant irregularities that happened, which necessitate not just a recount, but a revoting, then of course it means that different sections of the law have to be considered, other factors have to be considered, one of which is the financial constraints that the country is currently facing. So if you will not have enough money to run a fresh election, then there might be a problem. But then on the other hand, if you don't run a fresh election when you have to, then of course the electorate will feel that their rights have been infringed. Thirdly, you will also have people who say, no, but you have voted, you can't be voting again, you are wasting our time. So we have to speak to all these different audiences, and it can't be an easy task, I must say.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Professor Bheki Mngomezulu. He is a political analyst, just giving us his analysis in terms of the major developments coming out from the Results Operation Center in Midrand.